My name is Dr. Mitch Hicks. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm the founder of Crosswind Center for Personal and Professional Development, located in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. If you've been paying any attention to stories that have to do with our mental health, then you've probably heard the term burnout on more than one occasion. Today, I thought I'd take a few minutes to define what burnout actually means and the red flags that, when you take them together, suggest that you might be burning out. One of the most well-known researchers in this area is Dr. Christina Maslach, a social psychologist and professor emerita of psychology at the University of California, Berkeley. Even if you don't know her name, if you took an introduction to psychology class, then you know one of the things for which she is the most famous. Remember Phil Zimbardo's infamous Stanford prison experiment, where he created the prison and then he randomly assigned student volunteers to be either guards or prisoners, and how badly that ended up going? Well, Dr. Maslach is the person who saw what was happening just a short time into the experiment, only to decry what she rightly felt was unethical and causing harm. While it's her scholarly work on burnout that we will be most interested in today, I did want to pause and give her a shout out for standing up and doing the right thing. Okay, so in 1982, Maslach defined burnout as a psychological syndrome, that is, a collection of symptoms involving emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and diminished sense of personal accomplishment. And this occurs amongst professionals working with other people in challenging contexts. In later writings, she's gone on to note that we can't just look at the individual, but that this burnout is occurring within a work context. In other words, you can't just ask what's wrong with the person. You have to ask what's wrong with the environment in which that person is working, and you have to look at the extent to which the burnout might be a function of a mismatch between the person and their environment. Dr. Maslach and her colleague Dr. Susan Jackson created the Maslach Burnout Inventory, which has gone through a number of revisions and updates, and it's used in various contexts, but it's the most frequently used instrument to look at burnout in the workplace. Now, her original conceptualization of burnout included 3 dimensions. The MBI looks at 5, and these are the red flags we're going to look at in no particular order. Our first is emotional exhaustion, or the extent to which one feels overextended, overwhelmed, and exhausted. And subsequent research seems to show that this dimension is by far the most telling. The next flag is what she calls depersonalization, which is different than how I, as a psychologist working with trauma, might use this term. In Maslach's model, depersonalization refers to being unfeeling and impersonal towards those receiving your services. It's just hard to empathize with the person or show any kind of concern toward their plight. Next, the feeling of not being competent or successful in one's work, such that there's no real positive impact on those being served. This is what she called a lack of personal accomplishment, and it's a big signal. Now, it's true that one may find this in what is being called imposter syndrome, but with burnout, you don't really feel like a fake waiting to be discovered. So these red flags are Maslach's core model of burnout, but there are 2 other dimensions that she and Dr. Jackson consider. Professional efficacy is a lot like personal accomplishment, but the major difference is that one lacking professional efficacy is more focused on the lack of achievement. And finally, cynicism is emotionally distancing from one's work demands. Sound familiar? I suspect some are saying, well, yeah, but it's not my job, it's my kids, or it's my parents, or it's this thing I do to volunteer, it's my church, it's my synagogue, whatever. But I believe that this is not too much of a stretch to say that we can feel burned out in multiple areas of our lives. In a later video, I'll say a few things about how you can start to do something about it. But this video is already probably too long, and so we'll move on. Thanks for listening. If you learned something, please take a second and subscribe and share with others. If you want to learn more about me, my team, and our practice, you can find us at www.crosswindcenter.com, and you can email comments to comments@crosswindcenter.com. Until next time, be good to each other and yourself.